Yo guys, what is up? Here we are with another reading video, and today we are on chapters 31 and 32 of Milkweed by Jerry Spinelli. We are getting so close to 100 subscribers, so please, if you want a 100 subscriber special, comment down below what you want, or just comment if you want one at all. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Chapter 31. Winter. A dead leaf skittered in the moonlight as I wriggled my way through the 2-brick hole to the other side. I took off my armband. I knew Janina was somewhere behind me. On this bitterly cold night, the streets of Warsaw were almost as deserted as those of the ghetto. But the Blue Camel Hotel was always bright and warm. As I sailed through the revolving door, I caught a glimpse of red hair in the lobby. I went around again and stopped inside. It was Yuri. He was dressed in fine clothes. White shirt, black trousers, shoes. I watched him for a moment. He was emptying ashtrays into a wheeled trash can that he pushed around the lobby. I called out, "Yuri!" He didn't hear me. He was heading for a hallway at the back of the lobby. "Yuri!" I ran after him. When I got to the hallways, he was gone. I went down the hallway, peeking into dark rooms. Sunlight was off my feet and flying into one of them. The door slammed shut. I couldn't see a thing, but I knew Yuri was holding me and whispering into my ear. "What are you doing here?" "I saw you." "Ow!" He was squeezing my arm. "I called you. Didn't you see me?" "What are you doing here?" He shook me. "Never mind what I'm doing here. I work in the laundry. If I see you in here again, I'll tell them to shoot you. My name is not Yuri here. You never call me that." His hand squeezed my neck. His breath was in my face. "Do you hear?" I nodded, choking. "Never come in here again. Get out, now." The door opened and I was flung into the bright hallway. Outside on the street, I expected to see Janina. She was usually within sight, following me but pretending she wasn't. I didn't see her. Something inside me said, "Good." Something else said, "I don't like this." I disappeared into my usual shadows and alleyways. I did not seek out new places on this night. I went to familiar, reliable garbage cans and a few unguarded home pantries, places we both knew well. I kept expecting to bump into her. I kept glancing around. She wasn't there. The moon, as always, had moved halfway across the sky by the time I was done with my shopping. It was full on this night, my least favorite kind of moon. Normally, I dashed for the wall and practically dove through the hole. This time, I stopped at the wall and waited, crouching in the shadow. I could not stay long. The wall was patrolled. Nothing but the patrols moved in Warsaw at this time of night. I kept waiting, hoping to see a tiny fragment of shadow break away and come running to the wall, to me. Somewhere on the other side of the wall, a dog barked, a whistle blew. I thought of the other boys. I hoped they were safe. Something moved down along the wall, a glint of silver in the moonlight. A patrol was coming. I stuffed my sack through the hole, then myself. A minute later, I found her. She was near a street corner, standing still, not even trying to hide herself, her sack of food dumped on the ground beside her. I did not want to call out. I approached her quietly from behind. She did not move. She seemed to be looking at something. She was looking up, and then I saw. A body was hanging from the crossbar of a street light whose lamp had long since stopped shining. It was hanging by the neck. I wondered why hanging the body had stopped her. It was not the first she had seen. That was familiar to us as life. But even those still breathing, walking, they looked as if they were waiting for someone to tell them they were dead. So why was my heart hammering my chest? Because the body, I could see now as I stopped beside her, had one arm. It was a boy. It was Oleg. A sign was hanging across his chest. In the moonlight, it was easy to see the words. But I could not read. Flat on the ground, his shadow was hanging too. The next morning, Enos told me what the sign said. I was a smuggler. "They'll hang us all," he said. "Not me," I said. "They can't catch me." "Not me," said Janina. "They can't catch me." Enos laughed. We sat on rocks at the ruins of the butcher shop. No one said anything. Ferdy smoked. Kuba stared at the dust. For once, he had nothing funny to say. Big Henrik bawled. He took off his shoes and pounded the frozen earth with them. He threw away the shoes and bawled some more. I said, I saw Yuri. No one looked up. Janina spat into the dirt. I hate your angels. The next day, the first snow flurries came. Children had their faces to the sky, trying to catch flakes on their tongues. I visited the orphanage. Dr. K was teaching the children a song. When he saw me, he said, Misha, come join us, sing with us. I stood in the middle of the children and sang the words. After the singing, we were given a cabbage cake and a spoonful of fat. I never saw Dr. K eat. Everyone had shoes. When I left, I walked about the ghetto singing my song in the snowflakes. I saw a boy eating a newspaper. A voice called, Misha Politsky, Misha Milgram. I recognized the voice, but I could not believe my ears. I turned. It was Uncle Shepsel. Since the day the Jews paraded into the ghetto, I had not seen Uncle Shepsel outside the room, except for lineups. He was smiling, showing the world his brown teeth. His hand came down on my shoulder. Misha, Misha, is it not a beautiful day? I looked around. It seemed like any other day to me. Gray. Up the street, a man was banging his head against a stone wall. But I was an agreeable fellow. Yes, I said. Yes, yes. He looked around. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath and stood like that for a while. I thought he had gone to sleep. The head of the man up the street was red, but he was still banging. Uncle Shepsel opened his eyes and smiled down at me. I had seen that same smile in the room lately, as he read the book that had changed him from a Jew to a Lutheran. He removed my cap and mussed my hair. Lice eggs flew like baby snowflakes. I replaced my cap. He nodded dreamily. Suddenly his expression changed. He seemed confused. He looked hard into my face and did not seem to know me. You go. Every night you go, he said. Why do you come back? I did not have an answer. Maybe he found it in my face, for after a while he turned and walked off. Up the street the man was on the ground. My feet led me back to the room. Miss Milgram was lying on the mattress as usual, facing the wall. She looked the same in every way, yet I knew at once that she was dead. Mr. Milgram was sitting on the edge of the mattress. Janina was in his lap. Her face was in his chest, and she was crying. Her father rocked her back and forth. When he looked at me, his eyes were shining. Ever since Mr. Milgram had made me a member of the family, I had wanted to call Miss Milgram mother. I did so once, and she replied, I'm not your mother. I was confused. By the time I decided to try again, she turned her back on the room for good. And now she was dead. And Mr. Milgram's eyes were making me sad. I put my hand on his shoulder as Dr. K had often done to me. I looked into his shining eyes and I said, Tata. He took me into his lap next to Janina, and now I was being rocked back and forth too. I tried to cry like my sister, but I was too busy looking for Miss Milgram's angel. We sat up all night with the body of Miss Milgram, except for Uncle Shepsel, who had come back when he returned to the room. In the morning, Mr. Milgram left and came back with the undertaker. He gave the undertaker a small bottle of white pills. He said he had been saving them for this day. He reached under the mattress and pulled out a little black bowl-shaped piece of cloth. I wondered what it was. He put it on his head. It was a hat. The undertaker and his two helpers carried Miss Milgram down to the courtyard where a cart was waiting. Miss Milgram was laying in the cart and covered with a ragged scrap of cabbage-colored wool that had once been in a basket. The undertaker led the way out of the courtyard. Then came the helpers pulling the cart. Then came the three of us. Uncle Shepsel stayed back in the room. We were the smallest parade ever. There were many bodies along the way. I was surprised that we were not picking up some of them. But I was pleased also, because I did not want to see Miss Milgram wind up on the bottom of a heap. I had never been so slow before. Even when I was not fleeing, I was running or at least walking fast. Everything I did was fast. I forced myself to keep pace with Mr. Milgram and Janina. He held my hand. I kept telling myself, my mother is dead in the cart. I must not go faster than her. We passed the orphanage. Dr. K stood in the doorway. He put his hands together and closed his eyes and said words. I could not hear them, but I could see them puff from his mouth into the winter air. Many women passed us going the other way. They all wore coats and wraps of fox and other furs. They looked very sad. Some were crying. They had been ordered to turn in all furs at Stocky Station. A man went marching past us in the street. He had no shirt or coat on, no shoes or rags on his feet. He made peeping sounds from a silver pipe that he had to his mouth. He waved the pipe in the air and called out, "Children, children, come with me. We go to the Candy Mountain. Follow me, follow me." At the gate to the cemetery on Jesus Street, Mr. Milgram gave the guard a bottle of pills and we were let in. We went to an empty plot of ground. The undertaker's helpers found shovels and dug a hole. A crow sat nearby on a tilting tombstone. It stared at me. I thought it spoke to me. In its croaky voices it said the same thing over and over. I could not understand. I left Mr. Milgram's side and walked towards the crow. "What?" I called. The crow spoke and flew one last time and flew off. As we were laying Miss Milgram in her grave, the first bomb fell on the other side of the wall. I felt it in my feet. I looked up. It was raining bombs. The ground was trembling, as if all of the dead had decided to leave their graves at once. The undertaker and his helpers and the cemetery guards all ran. Mr. Milgram just stood there, staring into the hole. A bomb exploded several blocks away on our side of the wall. Then came more. Mr. Milgram looked at us. "Children," he said. He lifted each of us and lowered us into the hole with Miss Milgram. "Cover your eyes." We curled around each other on the scrap of wool at the feet of Miss Milgram. The earth was thumping like a heart. When I peeked upward, I saw Mr. Milgram sitting at the edge of the grave hole, his feet dangling toward us. Gina pulled something from her pocket. It was a milkweed pod. She must have plucked it from the plant in the alley. It looked empty. She blew into it. 3 or 4 puffs rose into the air. They sailed up out of the grave, past Mr. Milgram, and into the rectangle of gray sky and the black falling teardrops of bombs. And that is the end of chapter 32. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a big thumbs up, comment down below, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video.